I often found myself fluctuating between two opposing states which we're all very familiar with. And even up to this point, I find myself fluctuating between those two states, and one which I really do like and I want to be experiencing, while the other is not something is not a state that I really would like to experience. And it got me wondering, why do I have to keep fluctuating between those two states? Why can't I just, maintain one state which I know is going to lead me to everything I want? And those states are none other than the motivated, zealous, eager, driven, passionate state in which you're able to think, feel, and put in the work, not necessarily the physical work, but even the emotional and mental work towards your future. You're envisioning, you're planning, you're dreaming, you're building emotionally, mentally, and physically. You're ready to work on your goals, you're ready to work on whatever you need to work on. You're very driven and you're very eager, and you're always envisioning, and you believe in yourself, you're loving what you do, you're very passionate about it, and you feel as if nothing can drain you, nothing could ever possibly drain you and hinder that momentum, and you're always able to push more and more on that momentum, towards that momentum, so you're able to start and maintain that momentum. While the other state is the one in which you're lackluster, you're indifferent, you don't really care about those dreams, you're not even envisioning, you don't find it in yourself to envision, and think about all of this, even as the end results. You're not any longer truly seeking those end goals, and of course you cannot put in the work, neither physically nor mentally or emotionally, and you're just you're indifferent. You could possibly be consciously thinking, yes, I want to do this, I want to reach there, I want to have that thing, I want to have this thing, but you're not really caring. You're not you're just thinking about it consciously, and you don't find the passion, you don't find the love in you don't find your drives any longer. And the thing is, in order, the few times I was able to start and maintain the momentum towards something that I truly wanted in life, I was able to experience a breakthrough. I was able to reach the goals I was seeking out of that thing. But the times I don't maintain that momentum, the times I keep fluctuating, you either notice a very, very gradual progress, or no progress at all, or progress or regression rather than progression, because you're putting in more momentum towards that other state. And I often, thought that it's something that's helpless, because I could not figure it out. I could not get a grasp on it. I could not get to the base of it. And until recently, I realized something, and they often say that this is the difference between discipline and motivation, because if you're just motivated, you would put in the work and you would envision and you're gonna plan and build on that momentum whenever you feel like it. But if you don't feel like it, you're just gonna regress, and you're not gonna put in the necessary work or whatever. You're not gonna be doing whatever you need to do emotionally, mentally, physically. But rather, while if you're disciplined, you will one way or another put in the necessary work. And while that might be true, you still won't be able to, you would be helpless to experiencing the opposing state. So in other words, you're gonna still feel like lackluster and indifferent, and you don't want to put in the work, and you're not motivated, and you don't care, but rather out of discipline you're gonna be doing all of the work, and you're gonna still be driving and pushing yourself forward. So my question is, or my wondering is, why do we have to experience those two states? And I believe that I found the answer. I believe that I found the main, out of testing it. I've re-experienced it, I've experienced it over and over, and I've analyzed what are the main factors, and I realized that there are two main aspects to consider when looking at this. And the first being really as the first step in this process, while the second being the thing that really robs you out of your passion, that robs you out of your drives, that drains your energy and motivation towards that thing. And the first being is to consider whether this is something that you really wanna be doing. In other words, are you doing this because you love it, because you're passionate about it, because you wanna do it, because you feel like doing it, or are you doing it out of survival? Are you doing it to escape something? Are you doing it because you need something that's gonna lead you to? Are you doing it because you have to, because you need to, because you're desperate to? Or are you doing it because you wanna be doing it? You know, it's between want and need. Do you feel as if you need it and that's why you're doing it? Or do you feel like you just want to do this thing because you're passionate about it and you love it? Because this makes all of the difference. Perhaps if you're very extremely disciplined, it wouldn't matter, or you're gonna think it wouldn't matter, but it does matter emotionally and mentally, and that's more important than anything. And the reason it matters is because when you're doing it because you need to do it, because you feel like you want the benefits that it's gonna provide you, that you believe it's gonna lead you to this or that, you're hanging in by a thread. In other words, if you don't see results at some point soon enough, you know, not necessarily instantly, but soon enough, you're gonna find yourself lacking. You're gonna find yourself getting really and really bored. And the other thing is that when you're doing it out of survival, it's not a conscious action, it's not a conscious behavior, it's not a conscious pursuit, but rather a subconscious one. Your body is driving you, and whenever you find yourself, you know, not putting and not working on it any longer, your body is gonna feel scared. You're gonna feel scared and worried and anxious that your life is about to go wrong, that your life is about to get ruined, because that's coming from a primitive part of the brain. You know, I believe that my survival, my best rate of survival is in this thing, and that's what it means to do it out of survival. And the thing is, you run out of energy way faster when you're doing it out of survival. And the second thing is, you don't really put in the energy that's going to attract the benefits, the results of this thing towards you. You're not really seeking that thing out of your heart and your emotions and your energy. You're seeking that thing out of your ego. The ego is pursuing is very different than you as your energetic form, as your higher self, as your pure conscious energy pursuing. And that tends to run very short when it's done out of survival. It tends to run very short, and you find that things are not really going your way, and you're gonna find that whenever something comes up that's against that, when your beliefs are changing, when you find something else that might take you there quicker or faster, you're gonna find yourself fluctuating between many other different sub-states within this main state, within this aspect, and you're gonna go to this and you're gonna be distracted by that, and you're gonna hang on to this lead and to this thread and to that thread, and you're never really gonna be putting enough real momentum towards that thing. And that's why it does not really end up working out, and you end up finding yourself drained over and over and over, and you go fluctuate between those two states, you know, lackluster, and then yes, oh, perhaps this is what's gonna work, and you go back to it, and then when you don't see even gradual progress within a few days, you go back, you revert to that other state of being lackluster and unbothered and uncaring. But when it's done out of love, when it's coming from the truest parts of you, when you're really doing it because you want to be doing it, because you're passionate about it, then you will never run out, because this is what you love doing. And you're gonna be putting in real energy in it. You're gonna be feeding it with love, with energy that's gonna end up attracting it to you. You're not needing it, you're doing it because you know that you are it. And when you know that you are it, you vibrate way better on its alignment, on its frequency, and you become a vibrational match to it, and it tends to show you gradual progress way faster, and that's why you never run out. But the second aspect is what you end up doing, is what are you doing in your life. And I think this is better broken into two different parts. The first part is that you shouldn't act or behave in a way that's fundamentally against your beliefs, that you're fundamentally opposed to it. In other words, don't do something out of just habit or out of just boredom, but rather only do what you truly believe in, only do actions, or only take actions, or behave in a way, or think or feel in a way that you believe is what's right for you. But let's take out of the processed feeling or thinking, because that's not oftentimes under your control to a certain degree. But don't behave in a way that you don't believe in. And I feel like I want to explain this a little bit deeper before moving on to the second part, which is what robs you out of your motivation, out of your passion, out of your momentum, which drains your momentum, in other words. What I mean by this is that if you think that you shouldn't be hanging out with those people any longer because they don't serve your meaning, you don't find the connection, you don't feel connected to those people, you know that you're hanging out just aimlessly and mindlessly, and when you're with them, or whenever you spend time with them, you feel as if it's wasted time. Whenever you feel lonely or bored or just seeking out that excitement or entertainment, don't go on hanging out with them. Don't seek them out. And this works on every other thing. So if you feel like you shouldn't be, that scrolling aimlessly on social media is doing you bad, is not serving you well, and it's not something that you should be doing, it's not healthy for you, or the same with drinking, the same with playing video games, the same with smoking, the same with whatever. If you don't feel that this is good for you, that this is what is fundamentally aligned with your belief system, then simply don't do it. And this is closely related to your efficacy, your self-efficacy, your perceived self-efficacy. And that's, part of the social cognitive theory in psychology. I've spoken about this a few times before on my channel. And the self-efficacy, or your perceived self-efficacy, is your perspective on whether you're able to do something or not. And even part of it, the social cognitive theory, because there's also social cognition models, which is closely related, but now I'm specifically speaking about the social cognitive theory, dictates or states as part of its deduction that in order for you to evolve, in order for your brain to evolve, as in to develop the centers, which are the conscious centers, which are related for what actions you should take, what behaviors, your belief about the outcome, your awareness of the outcome. Should I take this behavior based on this? Is it gonna lead to this? Should I take this action or not? This part of your brain evolves and develops when you say to yourself that when your self-efficacy is improved, in other words. So when you tell yourself, I'm not gonna do this, and you believe that you're not gonna do it, and then you actually end up not doing it, or vice versa. When you tell yourself, I'm gonna do this thing, and you end up doing that thing. So fulfilling your self-promises, matching your self-expectations, matching your own standards is very important in evolving your brain, in evolving the centers of control, of power, of conscious awareness in your brain. And that's very closely related to what I was just saying, because the more you're gonna be acting against your beliefs, against your convictions, the more you're gonna find that you feel worse and worse, that you're gonna start thinking that I'm not able to do anything, I'm not gonna be able to reach to that reality I seek. I'm not, so it's unnecessary that I even put in the work, because I won't be able to follow up all the way through to the end. I won't be able to finish with this. I won't be able to put in enough momentum. I won't be able. The more you're acting against what you truly believe in, the more it's gonna project in other things, the more you're gonna start believe it to be the truth about other things in your reality. And that's why you're gonna find yourself in a very lackluster state. Then I don't need to work, I don't care any longer, because it's not gonna work out. I'm always betraying myself. It doesn't have to be conscious, bear in mind, it could be the whole process could be subconscious, but that's what's happening, and that drains you, and that leads you to stay in bed all day and not feel like working towards anything or doing anything altogether. And the other part is, the second part of this aspect is, don't indulge in very high dopamine releasing, instant dopamine releasing behaviors, because that robs you out of your motivation, that robs you out of your eagerness. And at some point I used to think that it's just, it's a baseline and it's all psychological. Yes, the baseline of my baseline of dopamine won't really affect me as long as I'm psychologically very conscious and intentional. I would be able to continue doing whatever and I'm not gonna feel bored about whatever I'm doing. But it does not work that way. It really affects you deeper than you think. Go indulge for 1 day or 2 days in something that's only highly dopaminergic, that's high on instant dopamine release, like whether it's just staying in bed all days, eating junk and playing video games, or having sex, or just drinking and doing smoking, or doing substances, or just it could be simply just binge watching or scrolling on social media. Try doing those two things for 2 days, and then try going back to your regular routine, and you're gonna realize very sharply the difference. Try reading after that, after those 2 days. You would be able to if you want to, but it's gonna suck. It's gonna be way harder than before those 2 days if you haven't been already indulging in other dopaminergic instant dopamine release activities beforehand, before those 2 days. But test yourself and see how you're gonna react. Even if you're still motivated, even if you don't believe that those dopaminergic actions are bad for you, that those instant dopamine release activities are negative for you, even if you don't believe that, so even if they're not against your conviction system, they do shift your baseline. And then if you were only requiring this much dopamine, now you're requiring this much, and you're not gonna find it in reading, you're not gonna find it in working towards your passions, in working towards those goals that might or might not give you the results that you seek, but rather you're gonna find it in something that's providing instant results, something that's giving you results instantly, giving you a feedback instantly, like playing or watching. It's instantly affecting your emotions and your mentality and your feel-good hormones and this and that. But envisioning your dream reality, that's not gonna matter all that much anymore until the cycle is until the cycle is finished and you go back to your base dopamine expectations from your body, in other words. And I realized that everything matters when it comes to this point. So even if you just tell yourself, with real conviction, while you're really convinced of it, while you really believe in it, when you tell yourself, I'm not gonna do this any longer, I'm not gonna do this any longer, this action any longer, whether it's because something that you don't believe in, or whether it's something that is very high on instant dopamine release. So the whole second aspect, whenever you just say that I won't be indulging in this aspect any longer, you find that you're able to be more focused way easier. Apply this laser focus towards your goals, towards your purpose, towards your meaning in life way easier, just by saying it to yourself, by affirming it to yourself, by promising yourself, I won't be, out of real trust, not just maybe I'm not gonna do it, but maybe I will at some point, if I feel like it. No, when you really tell yourself, that's it, I won't be indulging in those behaviors any longer, they really matter. It really matters. Now you find yourself, your body is going back to its motivation. Your body, because you tell your brain, do not expect this dopamine any longer. No, I'm not gonna give you this dopaminergic release anymore. It's gonna have to be this. It's gonna have to be reading. It's gonna have to be walking. It's gonna have to be meditating. That's all for you. That's all for our dopamine. You're gonna have to find it in this. And it applies it and it finds it instantly, and you find yourself being able to work and put in the effort towards that goal of yours in the future. Start envisioning and dreaming about your future and what it holds for you. You start finding yourself able to connect over and over more and more with your future, just by uttering it to yourself, just by believing it, just by saying it, promising it, affirming it to yourself. And so it works in many different levels, and this is just something for you. This is what I realized makes the difference. First is it something that you truly believe in? And second, are you acting willingly or unwillingly? Are you just a puppet to your egoistic desires, or are you really acting intentionally? Because that projects in each and every other thing. If the other things, your love, your passion is happening out of your belief of perceived self-efficacy and your passion, and it's giving you, some fulfillment, you're, after doing the two actions from the second aspect, your self-efficacy is gonna drop, and your perceived self-efficacy is gonna drop, and your fulfillment is gonna get way up higher. Your expectations to be fulfilled are gonna rise way up higher, and then you're not gonna do it altogether. You're messing up the momentum, and you're gonna be fluctuating between those two states, and you're never really gonna put in enough momentum towards what you truly seek, and that's why you're not gonna experience enough breakthrough even before. Because I did another video before, and I was telling you about what truly shifts your reality, and that even mental and emotional momentum is gonna be enough, but you're not gonna be able to, because when you're not, I find myself in that opposing state, that I'm not even that much caring altogether about my future. Even if I'm trying to, but it's unbothered. Even I find myself unable to visualize it, unable to plan in it, unable to get really deep into it in order for me to connect emotionally and mentally with that. So who are you when nothing is really holding you back, is what you ought to ask yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video by AfsConsciousFrequency. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, because it helps me so much, and it helps this video find its way to many more others who might actually need it.